Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. Running a bit late.
It's the usual.
Usual. Yeah, can't get the oldest child off the computer.
Need to buy him his own computer and then he can hide upstairs.
Always say, I'm going to go on at 1:30. So can you get off a bit before? And they're like, 20 past. I go, can you just come off now? And then he's like, yeah, 25 past. I need to go on. And also, my wife and I were doing the crossword as well. We got a bit. We did a couple of clues, and suddenly we opened up a whole load of new clues.
It got very exciting.
We were a bit caught up doing that too. Oh, strawberry cheesecake, chocolate digestives. I've got some cherry bakewell digestives in the tin in the kitchen actually.
Oh.
But I might have to get those halfway through
now. now Robin's salivating.
Yeah.
There's 18 of you lovely people online already. Only 4 likes. Give us them likes. Give us them. Give us them.
One of them's me, so I should give us a like.
Who have we got on tonight? We've got Jim Tyson, who was first up tonight. He was raring to go. We've got John Grant Miniatures. We've got Andrew Marlowe. There's VJ Morth in here. Edelfunz Lazor is also in the house. Milky Paints, Wolfman Gaz, some weirdo called Robin Brooks. There's Dead Hands. We've got Milky Paints again. John Grant Miniatures again. Wolfman Gaz. I think I've got everybody. If you're watching tonight and haven't called out your name, give us a wave. Say hello.
Hello.
Milky Paints already asks, what are those from? I'm assuming he means the biscuits.
The biscuits, I think my wife bought mine. I think they're from the co-op.
Yep. Now, I'm already... I'm trying to find the article where they announced the Bone Reapers, so we could get a picture of them up. Because somebody's mentioned them. I think it'd be a good idea for us to look at them first.
Yeah. Oh, you want to look at those first?
Get them out of the way.
I haven't done any research for those. I've completely forgotten about them.
That's right, neither have I. I too had also completely forgotten about them.
I'm actually just reading this article about the missing hero from Curse City as well, because somebody was grumbling about it.
Oh yeah, you have to buy, don't you? You have to buy the you've got to buy some starter box or something to get that final character or something like that, which is a bit rubbish. Mr. Bingaman says hello, Mr. Bingaman. And welcome, I guess it's unusual for us. Yes, I mean it's unusual for us to be so unorganised, but yeah.
Let's do some preparation. I've read various articles by my betters about these new cards, and I'm all prepared for that. And I completely forgot the Bone Reapers thing. I think because I'm not that interested in them, I kind of forgot they were coming. Yeah. Jason's in the house. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, I can't find a picture of them now. I can only find the individual pictures again, which is annoying. But we know there's 6 of them. And we know there's a dude, archery kind of guy. There's also some kind of spellcastery dude who's probably going to be the leader, and then you've got that big guy with the great big axe thing. So
yeah, that is a nice model, that big one.
It is a very nice model, that one. Those guys, along with a few other models that they've done recently, have really tempted me into trying to get back into the painting side of things. But we know how much that sort of pays off in the grand scheme of things.
I suggest the Ravagers, but everybody and their dog is playing the Ravagers, so it wouldn't bother. But they are really nice models, the Ravagers, for painting.
They are on my list as well. They are still in the box and unassembled, but I've got there's the Worm Spat, there's Morgoth's Crushers. They just really like them. Really like them.
I don't like Crushers. I'd happily crush those.
Oh dear.
So are we going to talk about the Bone Reapers at all? I mean, they've got an archer, which is sort of
they've got an archer.
Very exciting now.
I've got the video here, which I'm just looking through to see if I can stop it on one of the scenes. So there's like a guy with a 2-handed sword. There's a guy with a mace and a shield. There's then the caster guy who's probably going to have a range 2 attack as well, and he's kind of holding a weird thing in his hand. And then there's the big dude. But I think given the size and the number of models, because we know there's 6 of them, I mean, there are going to be a lot of 2-wound fighters in here. There must be.
Yeah, how many of them are going to be hunters?
So if we look, and let me add my screen share right here, so we can see one of them here on the screen, and his name is Nohem, and he's a Mortek and a hunter. And his bow is 3 range, 2 hammers, 1 damage, which that's not too bad. It has an ability on it called Nadirite, but it doesn't tell us what that Nadirite means on the card. Maybe it means.
Is it just a keyword to say what it does? Like it says see Carrick's fighter card on
Yeah. So there's this Mortek Advanced thing as well, which is see Hakor's fighter card for as well. So it's Yeah, what are we going to see with that one? I wonder.
So he's definitely a hunter, and he's got a Mortec keyword.
Yeah. So I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of the Mortec Advanced thing. Might be something a bit like the Sepulchral Wardens thing, where maybe you can move two Mortec, two Mortec fighters or something like that.
Prefer Petitioner.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a bit on that says that they inspire after a power step if you have more than three. If you have 3 or more tithe counters.
Okay.
So what's a tithe? How do you get tithe counters? I'm guessing they're going to be a bit like. Oh yeah, Joe Bigman says he bets the Netherite ties into the tithe count. So maybe if you kill someone with a Netherite weapon, you gain a tithe, a tithe counter. Maybe.
So are they supposed to be kind of reaping souls or something?
Yes, they're sort of sent out to get the bone tithe, as it's called.
Okay.
That's their thing in AOS, as VJ's just pointed out. So yeah, maybe if you kill somebody with a Netherite weapon, you get a bone tithe counter. I'm sure there'll be ploys and things to get you more counters and stuff like that. And once you get 3 of them, you inspire. So, I mean, that might be easier to pull off than a lot of other people's. Like, I mean, you get like the sorry,
Orc Tim is in the house.
Hey, so I mean, some people.
Not my house, I hope, Tim.
Just in the background. I mean, thinking about how they'll inspire, if it's gain 3 of those tokens, if it's get a token for killing someone with one of your weapons, I mean, that could be tricky to do, but depends on if you...
2 is hard enough with, as somebody just pointed out, 2 is hard enough with spoilers.
Yeah.
Despoilers 2? Yeah.
Despoilers 2. The Garrick's Reavers is 3 people
dead. There could be other
dead.
ways of getting them, couldn't there? There could be other ways of getting them.
Yeah.
Tends to have been a thing. Although there's no extra ways of getting ether cores, but there tends to have been a thing later. Like the war tokens, there were various cards and things to get extra ones.
Yeah. I think the Aether tokens are so powerful, though, for what they can give you. Especially some of the ploys you can get where it's like burn a Aether token and do this mad thing with it.
They are. They're more like startling effects rather than actually how your warband works.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of them. 2 hammers on a range attack isn't bad. Not bad goings. We didn't see his wound count, and then we've got Mir Kainan, who is the leader, and he is a level 1 wizard with his Soul Reaper axe, which is a range 2 weapon, and I bet it's shorter than Kirk's spear. Just saying. But I mean, uninspired. Sorry?
He's the big guy. He's the big guy, though, isn't he? So I don't think he is short.
Oh, sorry, that is the big guy. Oh, yeah, that is the big guy. He's a level 1 caster. That's interesting.
I'm just going to go and have a quiet word with my washing machine.
Okay. Whilst Robin goes to have a word with his washing machine, what have we got on this character card? So after a power step, 3 or more tithe counters again for inspiration. Hi, Laura. Welcome aboard. So we've got the Soul Reaper Axe, range 2, which is it's pretty good. 2 damage, 2 hammers, 3 damage. But also, interestingly, uninspired, he also has the Reaping Swing, which the Reaping Swing attack, I'm guessing, is going to have scything. He gets that uninspired, and it also looks like it's 2 hammers, 2 damage. Fuck me, that's nice. That's potentially very scary. He has a Bone Tithe, which says see Kenta's fighter card. I'm assuming that's going to be the leader. Oh no, sorry, not the leader, the caster, because this one is the leader.
He's a leader, and he's not a hunter, so he can't score a thingy off the bat.
No, but 1 upgrade and you're winning there, aren't you?
And his weapon, his Soul Eater axe, isn't a netherite weapon.
No, that's a good point, actually. Maybe it is if he does the Reaping Swing.
Yeah,
which makes
that we can't see.
And then it might not have scything in that instance. So it might be a case you can do like a longer range 2 hammer, 2 damage attack just to kill someone, or you might have this like range 1, 2 hammer, 2 damage attack instead to do the reaping to get.
Axe is a netherite weapon in some circumstances and isn't in another.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if his other second attack profile makes it netherite.
Okay, well I assume netherite's like a thing, like amber bone. So it doesn't make sense that it's not. It's 1 when you're.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You get it as an axe, but another one when you use it as a scythe.
He has another thing on his card that says something like invigorated at the start of this fight as an activation. But I can't read what the rest of it is.
Do you think he's got a loofah? Oh yeah, let's go. That's what this is. No, it's not an axe at all. It's just his loofah.
Or is that someone was asking, do we know what his move is? I don't think we've seen Laura what his movement is. I don't think we've seen any of their movements. So,
are they slow in AOS?
I mean, they're undead, so I don't think they're going to be particularly speedy.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Undead with bones.
Yeah. DRC Fungus says, good day from the US. Hello, United States. And Laura Bates says, Netherite is an OBR lore thing. I don't know what OBR means.
Osterite Bone Reapers.
Oh, good point, yes.
Come on, Pete, even I know that.
I've failed. The problem here, right, is that they've called it Netherite, and that's very close to Nadgerite. So from now on, they're going to be called the Nadgerite weapons. So that's all we've got on them. Those are the only 2 fighters. I mean, 6 of them. We're going to see lots of 2 wound fighters, I guess. Lots of single dodge, I guess, something like that. The big guy's obviously probably going to be like a shield, maybe double shield on Inspire. Possibly.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
So it's 4, 6, and then 6. They're 6, and the Aurochs are 4. And do we know what the vampires are? Well, the vampires 4.
Yeah.
Fighters. So everything's either 4 or 6 at the moment.
It's all very even.
And just so it ought to be 6. The what do you call it, guys? So that won't redress the balance, will it?
Official elves.
The fish elves, even that won't redress the balance because that will be 5 and 3.
Yeah, I don't know. You lost me a little while ago.
Sorry.
But anyway, there we go. VJ says, give them only 2 wounds with balance them in the underworlds, but seems to go against AOS law. Isn't it only the really big dudes that are like lots of wounds that are the regular dudes like less wounds? I mean, he says that in AOS they're an elite army. They don't feel very elite, being one of the biggest warbands in the in this season.
No, I mean, I say I know very little about them. I'm intrigued. I feel like they're going to be more your thing than mine, just because they're undead.
I can't deny I am looking forward to them, although they still, some of them have those incredibly derpy faces, which I can't get my head around, but I'm sure I'll make do.
Yeah, sure you can replace them with something.
I probably can't, but someone else could. Depends on how much the heads are connected, because I've got like one of those boxes of skulls. You remember GW did the box of skulls thing? I could always, replace something. Maybe I'll stick an ogre skull on it. Just
remove heads.
Massive head.
Heads.
VJ was saying he was expected to be 3 or 4 wounds max. I mean, I kind of, based on the OBR lore, I would have thought they'd be a much lower model count army, but
from what little I know of it, I would have expected them to be, especially with the big guy. I mean, I know big guys don't necessarily mean that you can only have a small warband, but I was expecting them to be him and then 2, maybe 3 slightly smaller guys. So
yeah,
interesting to go. The archer, always good to have an archer. I think bit of range.
It does seem to be the thing now, though, doesn't it? It's like if you have a warband over a certain size, or almost all warbands now seem to have some kind of ranged attack in them. Whether it's a caster with a ranged attack or just an archer with some kind of ranged attack.
This red, you've got what's her name with her super bow. You've got Hadzu.
Yeah. Not Hadzu. Yeah, sorry, it is Hadzu. Sorry, yep.
Yeah, there's whatever Zasha's got. Obviously, shoots things.
And they've got that stupid sword. Yeah.
And then you've got the chameleon coming.
Yeah. And then you've got these guys who've got a skelly archer. The undead don't, actually. But they might have a caster who zaps people with stuff. Maybe.
What undead?
The vampires.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
They don't.
They're not undead, they're vampires.
Yeah, they don't need bows. The lizard boss also has a ranged attack. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So shall we talk about the lizards then?
The lizards.
It's the thing we've done 0 prep for, so let's crash on with that.
The one you've done 0 prep for?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So let me share my screen again. Here we go. So everybody can see the screen. The screen of doom. So everyone can see the cards. So here are the cards.
I've been a very well written about Warband straight out of the blocks. I mean, there's Path to Glory and written Steel City Underworld done it. Set the Tempo's done it. And I've saw some other random people who I'd not heard of before doing it as well. So it's clearly, which is really nice. It's really nice to see more and more content providers.
I guess a lot of people can do this stuff relatively quickly now that the cards pretty much get entirely spoiled by GW the week before release.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better for them to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I wouldn't mind if they, if they felt the need to send us maybe a box as well. But such as is. I'm not bitter. But yeah,
you are quite bitter, to be fair.
Yeah, I am quite bitter, but not just about that. I mean, I'm quite bitter in general. So it's
bitter.
Just generally a very bitter person. So yeah, it's not so yeah, at least all the cards get spoiled. So everybody gets mostly at the same time. I know all of the content providers, they get them maybe a week or so early. I'm not sure how quickly they get them, but they'll get them sometime in advance to be able to write their reviews.
Pre-order day. Back in the days when we used to get.
I remember, when we used to get things, we used to get them a few days before pre-order release. But I mean, these guys must have this way before that to get the time to write the articles and do the podcasts and stuff that they do. Because they do some really detailed stuff.
I think they've just knocked them out really quickly on the back of the things, I think. And what certainly, I mean, they may have some pre-warning, but I think they certainly, the implication, I mean, like Matt, Set the Tempo, Matt didn't, for example, he just wrote them, and I think, Steel City Underworlds, they just
maybe
wrote them at work. Definitely didn't write them at work. But...
definitely not at work. Definitely not. So anyway, let's have a look at these cards and see what we got here. So anybody who's not aware of these ones, we're going to just basically race through them and have a chat about what we see, anything that jumps out at us. Obviously, everybody's been having a few conversations about these things already. And if you spot something that you wanted to mention, do post it in the chat.
Absolutely.
So we've got our fighter warband, 6 fighters here, pretty standard stuff. It's the basic 6 fighter warband with your caster leader and your big guy, and then some random little comedians. It's just standard setup, really.
Brilliant.
Laura does point out some of the reviewers are playtesters, so they would have seen the cards and stats much earlier. That is a good point. That is a good point. So let's look at Kixy Tacker. I'm trying to work out if these are meant to be funny names, like there were various lizardmen in the Warhammer Old World, where they would have the names, would be spelt a bit like this, but they would actually, when you pronounce them, they would, like, there was one character was called Teeny Weeny, basically, but it was spelt such that it had lots of H's and U's and I's in it and stuff, but it was basically Teeny Weeny. So I'm trying to work out if any of these are being clever, but I don't think so. If I'm missing anything obvious.
You've been called Kicky Knackers.
Joe Bingaman says tic-tac-toe. Yeah, it was something like that. But I mean, these ones don't appear to be, but if I'm missing anything obvious, do shout. So we've got Kixy Tacker, which is not a caster. He's a leader, but he's not a caster. And he has his obvious ability, which is quite cool, which is an action where he can pick a token within 3 hexes, and he can either flip it or deal 1 damage to an enemy fighter within 1 hex of it. You can do it once per round, though.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting that. I guess they didn't want you doing that a lot, but they'd be hard to do it. Hard to do it a lot, I guess. I mean, maybe within 3 if you've got in the centre of the board. But yeah, I mean, they're obviously about the objectives. It's a really interesting kind of. We've talked about this before, but their inspire condition is almost at odds with his action. So
it's like you want to stand on objectives, but also he's got this tempting ability to flip objectives. I guess you're going to use it more for doing damage to people rather than flipping objectives, maybe.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. Is how would you like you could do an attack action where you've got a chance of doing 2 damage. Let's say it's Kixy Tacker is going to be doing it. There's some varied chance of doing 2 damage, or you can definitely do 1 damage. It's which would you pick for your action?
Yeah.
I mean, it will depend on circumstances.
I know which I would pick. Every time I would pick the gamble for the higher damage and then fail and regret it all. But yeah, a better player would probably say it's better to get the guaranteed ping damage in those sort of instances.
But potentially, I guess it depends on what sort of warband you're playing against, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But what would be really good is if you had some sort of distraction card, so you did 1 damage, then flip the hex with a different card, and then distracted them into it. They were 2 damage, 2-1 fighter.
Oh, brutal. Like Joe's pointed out, it's also essentially a range for 1 damage attack, which isn't bad.
No, that's true. That's true. It's a guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's obviously also carrying the Pokeball. Anybody who doesn't paint that thing to look like a Pokeball is missing a massive
It's either a Pokeball or a thermal detonator, isn't it?
It's one of the two. You can paint it either way, but you've got to do one of those, I think.
That's all that's allowed.
Those are the only 2 options. Anyone who paints it gold with jewels and shit on it, you've lost immediately. Your opponent will automatically
like the royal orb, you know, that the Queen has at coronation. Yeah. You could do that. Or the holy hand grenade of Antioch as well, isn't it?
So yeah, the rest of it's pretty average stuff. 2 hammer 1 damage ranged attack, which is all right, and a 2 hammer 2 damage ranged 2 attack, which is pretty solid as well. And when he inspires, nothing really in his range, move forward, 2 dodge. It's all pretty average. When he inspires, nothing much changes other than the fact that his zippy attack goes to 3 damage, which is pretty good.
3 hammers, not 3 damage.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty handy. I don't know if there's any way of getting any extra damage on that. That would make it really mean.
I can't think of any right now unless there's anything that's like on a crit get extra damage or something like that. But
I'm sure there is at the moment.
No, but being able for him to do quite very reliable ping damage to people with his ability and with his ranged attack, that's not bad.
No.
He does inspire obviously when 3 or more objectives are held as well. Next on is Claptrock, the big guy. He's pretty scary off the bat. He's got his 2 hammer 3 damage attack, and then his powerful jaws, which is a 1 sword 1 damage attack. But interestingly, can be used at any point after he's had an action.
Yes, so he can go on guard, have a chomp,
bite your head off. Yeah, just make a move and bite your head off.
Yeah, although it's pretty inaccurate.
It's not the best. It's not the best, and it can't be modified either.
No.
So it's yeah. He's only 1 shield and 3 move, and he's 4 wounds. So he's not exactly monster material.
No, he's good solid Stormcast stats.
Yes.
His move goes up to 4 when he's inspired.
Yeah.
The Jaws attack is still in that reaction window where it can be stopped by people playing cards or bats flapping.
Flappy bats. Or
But I think the fact that you can do them more often, the fact that you can do them whenever you activate, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, it definitely gives you more options to be able to use it as well. The rest of him, he doesn't. Not much else changes about him apart from his stats. He gets 1 extra sword on his bitey attack, and that's about it. So not masses more for him.
Majors asked to get different inspire conditions. Only Claptrock has a different one, so the rest are all inspire when you're on 3 objectives.
Yeah.
Claptrock has to make a successful attack action, which is 2 hammers. You've got a good chance of doing that, depending on the warband, but it's not a given, is it? So you could easily charge in, miss, and then be standing there uninspired, which could be messy.
And he asks, are there other warbands that do this? There are a few other warbands now which have different inspire conditions for different fighters in the group.
Can't think. Well, Eyes of the Nine is a classic.
Eyes of the Nine, yeah, that's a classic one. I'm sure there's some in Beastgrave as well. Ripper's is a good one. You know, if Ripper gets a 2 upgrade, he inspires. If you target Ripper, then the others inspire. So there's a few like that around that's not unheard of.
No.
I'm gonna quickly skip over the chameleon a minute and just talk about the other 3. Hutchie, Tok, and Zepik, or however they're pronounced. They're all skinks and they're all hunters. and they've all got pretty average sort of stats. I mean, there's one with the javelin. It's 2 hammers, 2 damage, range 1. Or if he throws it, it's 2 swords and 1 damage. I'm assuming he gets it back after he makes that attack, though. So he must have like a whole bunch of them or something he's got over his shoulder.
Val and I in our game, sorry, no beef just said, Val and I in their game they just played were told by someone watching that Clacktrock inspired after the first attack, and then he can use the bite inspired. I think he probably can.
Yeah, because it's after the activation, isn't it?
Yeah, although it's a reaction. Don't reactions come first? Isn't that the funny thing? There's another funny thing that's come up with these guys to do with pushing and scoring temporary victory and things. So it will depend on the order in which those things happen. It's like score objectives, reactions, score objectives, and inspiring have an order.
I think he would, because I think he would here, because you inspire when he makes a successful attack action. So that would
you. Oh yeah, so you only have to make the attack. So that's before. Yeah.
Yeah. So he could. Not that it gives you masses more really, but a little bit. Every little helps.
Yeah.
Tok's a bit average. He's got a 2 sword, 1 damage ranged attack, and a 2 sword, 1 damage range 1 attack. So he's the suckiest of the lot, I think. Tok. Although Zepik might suck even more because he doesn't even have a ranged attack. He just has 2 sword, 1 damage attack. But he does have a shield. Somehow
he fights to 3 swords, 2 damage, which is pretty tasty.
Yeah, that's not too. Yeah, when they inspire, they all go up to 5 move. The shield guys stay at 1 shield, but the dodge guy goes up to 2 dodge, which isn't bad. And they all sort of gain a sword here or there. He's the only one actually that increases his damage. Zepik, so he's actually not that bad. Yeah. And they all have, as you mentioned, the skittish ability, which is after an opponent's power step, you can push this fighter 1 hex away from an enemy.
Yeah,
so
it does. Cool.
It's a whole new area for reactions to happen after the power step. Normally it's after the activation, and that's when you have things interrupting the dog bite. But this one is on its own again. Yeah,
worth observing. You can only do 1 of them at any one time because of the way reactions work. You can't. Although they all have the skittish, you can only skit. It's like the Gits move ability. You can only do 1 after the.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you have. Yeah. It's not entirely like the Gits one because you can chain those if you get it right. But if you have to pick which one you want to move, if you have multiple choices. But it's quite nice. It's really interesting, and especially it's after your opponent's power step, so you can sort of help get yourself set up. For something that you want to do,
for maybe a supremacy or something like that.
Yeah.
Your opponent could unwittingly help you score supremacy if you've already got someone on an objective. They move somebody along, and then you use this ability to skittish someone away a hex onto another objective, and then your activation could be charge someone onto a third objective or something like that.
Yeah. It's got myriad possibilities, and obviously it can help you get supports. So it's got possibilities. I've got a feeling these guys won't be sticking around for very long. Although a few people have played with them. How are they finding the litters? I think they've got quite a high skill ceiling. I've heard. I imagine these guys will die fairly easily.
Yeah. VJ's asked quite a good question. It's why would they put C Blas fighter card instead of reprinting the text? It's not like it wouldn't fit. I agree. I think here
they do that.
On some of the others, it makes sense where there isn't room. The Ravagers, for example, I think there's a lot of other additional text on the fighter cards, and they maybe don't have room for the other. I can't remember whether it's sacrifice or despoil text or whatever it might be. But this one, it doesn't seem to have any real logic at all to it.
No. I've just realised I've got to build a deck for our game this weekend, but I haven't done that yet.
Like Render says he's surprised they didn't have a faction supremacy. It does. Yeah, that does surprise me too. I mean, they gave one to bloody Wormspat for crying out loud.
Yeah. I was quite surprised they didn't, and they haven't even got. I thought they might even have their own sort of temporary victory style card. I don't think they've even got that, have they?
And then we come to the 6th member of the troop, the most interesting and potentially exciting and upsetting fighter of the lot, which is Ottapatl. He's a skink hunter quarry.
Skink hunter quarry, yeah.
Quink hunter scory.
He's got he's got cleaving in snare.
Yes. stealing the lot, and he only hits on crits. I'm sure we mentioned way back when that at some point they'd have to do a fighter that only hits on crits or supports or something, and here it is finally. A broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
No Beef says that.
No Beef has just said in their game, Val scored all of his objectives by the end of round 2.
Wow, that's mad.
Yeah.
But the Fiends came out on top 22-20. Oof, some high scores.
The cleave and ensnare thing took me ages to understand. I was trying to work out how it could be useful.
The cleave and ensnare thing, how do you mean?
Well, because he needs crits to hit, and therefore whether you've got cleave and ensnare is irrelevant on one level. So it took me ages to work out that when you've got supports is when it's useful.
Yeah.
But that was it took my tiny brain far longer than it should have done to actually sit and work that out.
It becomes basically a game of who can roll the most 6s, doesn't it? Without supports involved, it's just a case of I'm going to roll 3 dice and you get to roll 1 or 2 dice, and it's whoever gets the most 6s in most circumstances. Now he's interesting in that he has 2 dodge off the bat, which is nice, but he inspires to 3 and 5 move. Only has 2 wounds though, and his attack goes up from 1 damage to 2 damage, which is really nice. Yeah. But obviously the most interesting thing about him is the fact that his dart pipe, his blowpipe, his dart pipe, whatever you want to call it. If he makes a successful attack, the fighter can't be driven back, but you give them a move token. That is going to spoil people's days.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine putting him somewhere in the middle of the field? If you can get him inspired with 3 dodge, maybe a few upgrades to keep him a bit more alive. Put him in a position where he can shoot somebody one turn and maybe stop them from moving. And if it's only like a 3 or a 4 fighter warband, charging them the next turn, shooting someone else and stopping them from being able to move, that's going to piss on everyone.
It's huge. Again, people have played with them, I haven't yet. How easy that's going to be. I mean, first of all, inspiring. I don't think inspiring is that necessarily going to be that easy. I mean, it's only after an activation, I suppose. They've got to be on 3 objectives. So, okay, that's definitely doable with 6 fighters.
Yeah.
But you rolling crits, even rolling 3 dice, rolling crits, it's going to be, not going to do that often. I don't know what the odds are off the top of my head.
You've got, I think, against a one defense dice fighter, it's something like 30-35% chance.
Right. Okay. So,
which ain't bad.
It's there, but I mean, what you really want in the dream world is you still want 2 or 3 of your skinks left alive to swarm whoever you're fighting to get supports and double supports.
Yeah, definitely.
So but it's going to be really fun trying to get the best out of him. It'll be interesting to see. He's one of those fighters that could skew certain cards. Where because he's 3 crits and he's got this cleaving and snare and things, where suddenly something comes out that just makes him like. I'm not suggesting they would do this, but if they ever did a card, for example, that had an innate crit, he would be. he would be immense. I'm not suggesting they would ever do that because it would be overpowered. But there are. I could see because he's quite different to everything else. It's one of those ones where there'll be a card combo. Somebody will find a card combo that makes him disgusting.
Innate is one of those things that they brought in season 2? Season 2 they brought it in, I think, in Nightfall. Yeah. It's just one of those things, they were like, oh yeah, we've got this thing called Innate, we're never using it. Like 1 card a season, here's an Innate card, and goes, oh, I remember Innate, how's that fucking work again? I
think Crushers have got an Innate. Have they got an Innate one? Or no, that's just both things are successes, isn't it? No, I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Despoilers do. Despoilers have an innate sword on an attack.
Okay.
Which is useful for Draknar, I think, because he rolls swords when he attacks when he's uninspired or something. No, he rolls swords when he's inspired because he goes up to 3 swords, I think. So, yes. Yeah, something like that. And the other thing I like about this fighter is his very existence immediately starts to make you a bit worried about having like a Hrothgorn Voltron deck.
Yes.
How depressing is it going to be if you've got someone like Hrothgorn or somebody where you've put 5 or 6 upgrades on them and then suddenly, oh yeah, they can't do anything now.
Yeah, I just, as No Beef just said, Val in all of his cases is the first one to get killed. I just feel that maybe he's not quite strong enough to prevent that meta revolving because I still think he's just going to get flattened. So,
I mean, surely,
yes, in principle, yeah, but I think he's going to get killed quickly.
Surely with a range 3, move 4, uninspired, he's got to be worth keeping in the backfield and leaving for your last turn. Yeah, if you go first.
Lady Harrow having an innate dodge.
Ooh.
Yes, I think that's when they brought it in. Didn't they bring it in? I think Dreadfang was when the innates came in.
No, I'm sure they came in Nightfall because there's I thought there was some magic stuff that gave you an innate thing, or what's it?
Oh yeah, you might be right actually. Sorry, I think you're right.
It was Stormsire.
When did Dreadfang come in during Beastgrave or between the two?
No, it came in during Nightfall.
Okay, yeah. Well, I feel I can't remember. I'm not even going to speculate because it's not that interesting.
Oh, well, I guess we're done for tonight, guys. Thanks very much. We're not speculating. It's not interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I still feel like he could be a real pain in the ass, especially if you give him something like something that's going to give him extra dodge, extra defense, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how he evolves as more cards come out.
Yeah, I think you've got to feel like it might be worth taking some ensnare with him in the game. Whereas I think ensnare is mostly a nice to have rather than a must have at the moment.
VJ says you have never spoken truer words. Mark says they're interesting because depending on strategy, they have 3 priority targets. Success may mean trying to leverage that. I mean, I definitely think this is one of the more interesting of the warbands that we've said come out for a while. Yeah. Most of the others seem quite generic.
I think that's why they probably have a high. People are saying they have a high skill ceiling because you've got to balance the 3 kind of components and make them kind of not make it obvious what you're doing. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If it's obvious that you're going for one particular type of strategy, then they could focus on whatever that is, and it's balancing using the chameleon alongside the fighter power of the big guy, trying to maroon fighters in one place so the big guy can shoot them up, kind of thing. I think I'm looking forward to playing them. I think you're playing them this week, aren't we?
I think I'm playing them this week, yeah, and then you're going to play them next week because you're going to play Despoilers. Not Despoilers, Ravagers.
Ravagers, ready.
Ravagers. Anybody watching tonight, by the way, who's not a Patreon member, you might want to think about signing up if you want to play some TTS games because we've now got 25 people signed up for Season 2 of the Starblood Stalkers Season 2.
25 people. Wow, that's really good. One more than last time already.
I know.
But yes, do consider dropping in.
And it's only been open like a day, 24 hours. So I'm pretty chuffed with that.
Yeah. And it was really good fun last time. Some really good games. And we've got the final coming up next week, haven't we, Pete? Who's in the final? I've forgotten.
Some weirdo with a beard and another guy. I'm in the final. Whee!
It's the final.
Oh, if I win this, Robin, I mean, every time we then talk about anything strategic after this, I'm just going to go, well, as a tournament winner myself, Robin, you wouldn't understand the complexities.
That is true. But yeah, I don't really know. You're a tournament performer. You always do better than me in the tournaments.
Yeah, by about 10 places in 100.
I am bitter.
You need those noise-cancelling headphone jobbies. You need to be like, we talked about this before, you need to be like those poker players you see with the glasses and the hat.
That doesn't explain how I didn't qualify in this group, but at least I didn't lose to you. So I can at least say I didn't lose to you.
It was pretty close, our group, though. Because our group, there was like...
There were 4 of us on the same points, weren't they?
There were. It all came down to glory difference in the end.
Yeah. I think, or did Matt end up not... I can't remember. Yeah, it did come down to glory difference in the end, which was but it was good. It was exciting.
Yeah. But anyway, we digress. So let's have a look at some of the fighter cards that came with this. Obviously, I'm going to be using Underworld's DB. I will plug it here. Underworld's DB, friggin' awesome website. The best for decks, I think. The best a deck can get.
Okay, I've got the Warhammer community page up, so do I need to get Underworld DB?
No, you can do whichever one you like.
It's only because they did them in a funny. Last time they did them in a funny order. Yeah, they do them backwards. They do them backwards. In alphabetical order on Warhammer community.
Let's go backwards then. So where are we starting with objectives?
Objectives, and the first one is Will of the Slan.
Yep. This one looks like one of those ones you're just never going to take. Oh no, this is not the one I was thinking actually. This actually isn't too bad. I still don't think you take it. Hold.
What's that?
Actually, this is a third. This is an end phase card, but it's basically like that one, which was hold an objective in your territory and your opponent's territory.
Oh, to capture. Yeah. I think this is a great card for them.
Yeah, but it is an end phase, so you've got to make that your fourth turn action. Run somebody across the field.
Yeah, it is going to be tricky with the words. It's going to be tricky with the fragile nature of their fighters.
Yeah. I think this definitely has to be you let your opponent go first, and you take that fourth activation to sprint across the board and jump onto an objective.
And your better guys aren't hunters, so you can't. Or your stronger guys aren't hunters, are they? So you can't. You can't use Beast Trail to teleport into the backfield.
Yeah.
Ode to Battle's a hunter, but I'm not sure you would count one of your stronger guys. But yeah. But I think that's a really good card. That's going to be in all the decks, surely.
You think so? It does seem like it could be a very good card. And Laura says it does synergize well with their Inspire condition if you can get it early enough, and that is a good point.
Definitely.
And for 2 glory, it's always worth a look. The next one is Vengeance to the Heavens, scoring the end phase if there are more enemy fighters out of action than there are surviving enemy fighters. I mean, that could be okay with the 4-fighter meta going on, but it does mean having to kill possibly 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, so it's more enemy fighters out of action, so you don't really. I think it's. There are survive. Sorry, I can't really probably.
You've basically got to kill more than half of the opponent fighters.
Yeah. I think it's going to depend on whether you're planning on using Claptrap, which I think in the Vanguard meta, if you're playing these guys, you probably have to. So
yeah.
You might end up taking that.
2 glory, not too bad. Next one's the Great Plan. This is the one I don't think anyone's ever going to take. You've got to score 6 or more objectives. You've got to score 1 Surge, 1 Duel, and 1 Hybrid.
It's funny you say that, because I think that's a really good card.
Maybe later on. I don't know if it's viable in Vanguard meta, maybe.
Well, because you only got to score 6 objectives, which you want to hope that you do. And you only need 1 Surge, 1 Duel, and 1 Hybrid. And I will, as I'll mention in a bit, a lot of the hybrid cards now are 1, or is it the dual card? There's the hybrid cards, 1 very doable condition and 1 impossible condition. So it doesn't actually. So they're hybrid cards, but they're not really, because you're only ever going to fulfill them on 1 thing. If you see what I mean, I think they're the universal. And so I think, a lot of them, although they're hybrid in name, are actually just end-phase cards or even surge cards. In fact, so there are quite a few. You score a surge hybrid, you're 2/3 of the way there. Obviously, assuming you're going to score 6. I mean, if you're not going to score 6, you're not going to win anyway. So
that is true. Okay.
So I think that's a good card.
You've argued me around to that one, and it's an end phase, so you could, if things go really well, you could score that by the second end phase rather than the third end phase.
Yeah.
Ildefonso Lazor says Superior Tactician Reborn. It is kind of, I guess, in some ways.
It's probably slightly better because it's not third end phase.
That's true. Sotex Hunter scores immediately after an activation, which friendly fire makes a range 3+ attack that takes someone out of action. These are always a bit questionable because it's like you've got to do a range 3 attack, which inherently are quite inaccurate often.
Yeah.
And it's 1 damage.
Yeah, I can't see that being taken very often.
It's a surge though, so that's got that going for it, I guess. Surge. Next one, Sick in the Heart. This is a hybrid, so there you go. Get one of your hybrid ones out. Each surviving friendly fight is in an enemy territory, or your warband holds each objective in enemy territory. I mean, that's not going to happen, is it?
Seems unlikely. Although it's one of those ones that towards the end of the game, it could be really easy to score if you haven't got very many. Because it is only each friendly fighter. You do only 1 alive is okay.
That is true. That is true. It's not minimum. A lot of the things they did in Shadespire days was like all your friendly fighters, minimum of 3, had to do this thing, which meant that they were.
I feel like Condemners have got a card like that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's doable, but not for 3 of them.
Next one is Perfect Warrior, which is basically have Claptrap survive and take the enemy leader out of action. It's a duel, but it's don't really like that.
No.
Instinctive Tactics scores immediately after resolving your warband's second or subsequent reaction. I think that's a winner.
I think so. They've got quite because you've got
you've got their skitter reaction as well, haven't you?
So you've got Yeah, you've got skittish and various other bits and pieces. I think that's definitely.
There's quite a few
Definitely
reaction cards bouncing around already.
Yeah.
Heralds of Annihilation, score immediately after activation. When friendly fighters attack, take an enemy leader out of action. I mean, if you want to go leader hunting, I guess, but it's a bit.
Yeah,
eggs
I'm
in
never
basket.
keen on leader cards because the leaders are always A, good, and B, usually get better very quickly, and C, are normally kept out of the way. So I'm never a fan of cards that require taking out a lead.
The Saurus Bite is also a reaction, so that helps too. In fact, that card's almost impossible not to score unless you're a raving idiot. So I'm never going to score it. Formidable Focus, score immediately after an activation if 3 or more friendly fighters are in enemy territory. Feels like a bit much, but it's Surge, so it's committing yourself a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I'd have to have a look what other surges are available. I feel like in Vanguard you might take it.
Yeah, possibly.
Probably in Championship you probably wouldn't.
Children of the Zir. This is another duel, which is score an end phase if each surviving friendly fighter is inspired, and surviving friendly fighters have 3 or more upgrades. I'm not sure what that means.
I think it just means you have to have had 3 upgrades, but I just wish they wouldn't word cards like that.
It immediately needs an FAQ, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because people will, I mean, I think it just means they have 3 or more upgrades.
Yeah, but it's like, does each fighter have to have 3 or more upgrades, or does one fighter have to have the 3 upgrades?
Yeah. So, and it's frustrating. I find it frustrating that 4 seasons in, they're still wording cards like that.
Yeah, Wolfman Gaz says 3 upgrades across the board.
I think it is, but you could have people easily saying, well, it says surviving friendly fighters have 3 or more upgrades. They have to have 3 or more upgrades. There's no each. Yeah, I totally agree. But it should just say there are a total of 3 upgrades on surviving friendly fighters.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing devil's advocate a bit here, but we are trying to highlight the fact that their wording still sucks in places.
I totally agree with you, Gaz. And definitely that's the way it should be read. But I know that people will say, well, you don't have to read it that way. You can read it this way because people will, as we know,
because that's how the English language works, and that's what gamers are like sometimes. But yeah, I think it could have been worded better. I'm not sure if I'd take that one. Next one is Balance of the Cosmic Equation, score and end phase if there are 2. This is another hybrid, so they do have a lot of hybrids and duels, which could help them.
I'll take this one, I think.
Score and end phase if there are 2 or more enemy fighters out of action, or your warband holds more objectives than any other warband. It's not a bad one. It kind of plays into the whole inspire mechanic and stuff.
Laura's as if it said total of it 3 or more. It would read as 3 only though. I guess it could say total of 3 or more, even though that's not entirely great English, but that would still work. You'd still know what it meant, I think.
Yeah.
I think the Balanced Cosmic Equation is a good card. I think I would see myself taking it.
Yeah, I think that plays into their thing of holding objectives as well. So, and the last one is Astromatrix Alignment, which is score immediately after you flip a feature token in enemy territory. I mean, it's pretty doable.
It's definitely even in Vanguard, I think, but certainly in Championship with the extra cards that you can take to help with that.
So yeah, there's not a few. There's a few quite interesting looking ones in there.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Ploys.
Okay.
So on to the Hunter's Steed, which is basically.
Oh, the Hunter's Steed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Basically, just one of these new Asterism cards, which is a bit like the Nurgle cycle cards. It basically persists till the end of the round, unless you play or until you play another Asterism card, and it's just a +1 move, which isn't bad.
It's okay. I feel like from all of these, there's better Ploys.
They don't seem like the slowest warband, so I don't think they're going to need the move bonus.
No, the Great Drake is potentially good, but I think Set the Tempo pointed out in his review of the cards that actually it's limited use because you haven't got that many range 1 attacks that you want to use.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, +1 dice. I mean, it's good to get old Clacktrock inspired if he's not yet.
Yeah.
Put him up to 3 dice, possibly. And Clacktrock's a 1 defense fighter, isn't it? Even when inspired, so you can put things like Savage strength and whatnot on him without having to worry too much.
He inspires to 2.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
Then we've got the Bork Celestial, another asterism. Friendly fights cannot be driven back.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't use that one.
Yeah, that seems like a bit meh to me, but it might be handy when you're standing on objectives.
Get killed, and we just drive them back.
Next is Tepok's Mystery. Pick an opponent. That player picks one objective card from the hand, shuffles that objective card back into objective deck, and then draws one objective card. I don't see this as being worthwhile. Because the opponent can pick the card, so quite often they're going to pick like the shittest one. And you nearly always end up with a card that's a bit shit in your hand. So you could end up doing your opponent a favour more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost better if it was a card to play on yourself.
Yeah.
So if you had, if you'd drawn a brick, didn't have very good drawn into something bad and you played it, you have a chance of shuffling in something.
Yeah, or if you had that one which is, score 6 objectives and you draw that right at the start, it'd be handy to be able to shuffle that back into your deck and pick something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Sotek's Venom's quite a nasty one. Placed during friendly fight's attack. After the deal damage step, give them a move token.
And it's a poison as well. Suddenly the poison keyword comes back out of nowhere.
Out of left field, out of nowhere. And you're like, what? Oh, you using this again, GW? And they're like, we don't know, we just stuck it on there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's not a bad one. The ability to maybe give 2 fighters a move token and proper bollocks them up.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be a successful attack action. It can just be...
It does, because it's after deal damage.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I was looking for after a successful and it wasn't there. I skipped it. But it's a good card. I think Mark said it was good. Back up the chat, and he's absolutely right. It's a good card.
Yep. Lord of Space and Time. Choose a friendly fighter that's not adjacent to enemy fighters. Place that fighter in the same hex as an objective token in enemy territory, not adjacent to enemy fighters, and give them a move token. That could be handy, especially with some of the objectives you've got, which is hold objectives in your opponent's board and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Could be tricky though if you come up against someone like Grimwatch. You're like, I can't go anywhere. They're fucking everywhere.
Yeah, but I think it's a good card to have in your arsenal for these guys. I think, and good fun. And it's called Lords of Space and Time. Therefore, it should be compulsory that you take it. And the skink should have a big scarf on as well.
Doctor Who sort of theme. It is basically what was that upgrade in Nightfall?
Fameway
Crystal. It's basically Fameway Crystal, isn't it?
It's Fameway Crystal,
but slightly better.
Yeah, because you don't take a move action, and so you can teleport, and it's not restricted to anybody, is it? So you can just teleport the big guy in. You
do give them a move token after you've done it, though.
Yeah, I know. But if they're standing next to a objective, your opponent is standing next to an objective, you can teleport the big guy and smack him in the face.
I see.
Yeah.
No, you can't because it says not adjacent to enemy fighters. So you can't teleport them in and smack someone in the face, but it still can be useful.
He has got a range 1 attack, so you can't use the big guy.
No.
Sorry. I thought it said you couldn't move somebody who wasn't adjacent to enemy fighters. I really need to learn to read.
Mark pondered whether they'll make something like the Ocelot Bone Reapers are immune to poison. Unlikely, but possible. I mean, Nurgle aren't, and neither are the skeletons or the ghosts. So I find it unlikely that they will.
I suppose the skeletons and the ghosts were invented before poison was invented, so to speak.
True, in this method.
And also, that's not really much of a bonus, really, is it?
No, true.
This one and maybe lead bone dust, the only ones anybody takes.
Yeah. Next card then is Light of the Stars. Reaction play after an opponent plays a gambit, it deals no damage. I mean, there aren't masses of gambits that do damage, so I'm not sure what the worth is in this card. I don't think I'd take it.
No, it's a bit underpowered, that one.
Invisible Hunter. I love this card. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
Basically, take your chameleon off the battlefield. They're not dead, and they're not out of action, but they're just gone until the end of the round. Or when this card no longer persists. So if it's the end of the round, or someone plays something like the that Mundane Razor, which allows you to remove a persisting card or whatever, you can then just place him anywhere back on the board, not within certain parameters.
Yeah, it's a great sort of put him in the back line and then move him out again.
Yeah, that along with the other card does give you the options to sort of sit back a bit and wait for your opponent to come to you and then drop a couple of you guys behind them.
You can't play it in round 3, which is interesting.
Well, it makes sense, I guess, because you wouldn't come back till the very end of the round.
Well, it would mess people up trying to score Annihilation and things like that.
yeah. I don't know if that's it or not.
I don't know. It's an interesting one that you can't play in round
3. Next we've got, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, somebody's device, a Haughty device. Pick one. You can either push one enemy fighter 1 hex, or pick an opponent, and they pick 3 fighters from their warband and push each of them 1 hex.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure why you'd want to do that ever. Why would you want to give your opponent the chance to push 3 fighters 1 hex?
Well, if they were playing Lizard Men and they were on 3 objectives, or about to get on 3 objectives, and you, imagine they only pick 3 fighters from their warband, so they'd have to have some injuries as well. But I can see second. I mean, I could say you will mostly want to push 1 fighter 1 hex, but there are definitely times towards the end of the game where you might want to, or you might want to push them on if you're trying to score coveted spoils or whatever it is. But it's
I guess, yeah, and they do have to push them 1 hex. It's not up to 1 hex. They do have to shuffle them 1 hex. So, Worm's about to score the Triad. Oh, can you imagine that? If you finally think you're going to score the Trilobe and Supremacy, you've played 100 games. You finally get to the point where you can score this, and your opponent plays that. You're like, fuck you! Fine.
Yeah, I mean, be a good card if somebody was trying to score. Dug in.
Yeah.
But they're normally going to be whole bands, so they need to have. Suppose they'd have to have 6 fighters left to completely avoid.
Yeah.
Being.
Yeah.
There are potentials, but it's brilliant as a distraction, isn't it, card?
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, you've got a distraction from it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Next one we've got is Burst from the Shadows. Up to 2 friendly fighters can push 2 hexes.
Sorry, it's not choose, so it wouldn't inspire a Skaven, for example.
No, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, Burst from the Shadows, as you just said, is a great card. I mean, that's
very similar to
this spoilers one.
Yeah,
it's like the spoilers one.
Yep. Always handy for when you want to be jumping on objectives.
Yeah.
Will of the Slan. Oh no, we're back into objectives then. So they're not some of those are quite interesting. And then we can go on to the upgrades at the end.
Upgrades, I'm in a different order. Okay, so we're starting with
Void Spear.
Void Sphere, which isn't here.
So this is the discard all persisting gambits, which is.
Are you doing? Have we done?
We're on to upgrades now.
You're on to the
shit. Yeah.
That's your first upgrade.
Yeah, don't want to be on them.
You want
that. Let me just go back to where I need to be.
Hesitating first.
You got what?
Unhesitating.
Yeah.
Thing I suggest I hesitate to mention. But...
So that's a +1 move or +2 if they're a skink. I don't know if I'd bother with this one.
They're pretty mobile, aren't they?
Yeah, range of 4 and 5 inspired. Yeah. They don't seem to have a problem with getting around.
No.
Next one is Unfeeling Resilience.
Well, these cards are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, reduce damage by 1, and it doesn't go on a particularly named fighter, so that could be great in multiple situations.
Yeah, although mostly you're going to put it on Claptrok.
Probably, yeah. There's a reason why he's on the card, right?
I'm guessing so. And probably the reason why he's on the next one, although he is mentioned.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, just goes on him. He becomes a hunter, and all the enemies become quarries. And you can reroll 1 dice this fight's attack if the target's a quarry, which is mostly going to be everyone. So that's a nice little boost there. Makes him a bit Hrothgornish. Yep. Hrothtrok. And then Spawning Ponds, skinks only, react after another friendly skink is pushed from within 3 hexes. You can push them 1 hex.
Quite nice.
Might be quite handy to get some chain reactions going there.
It's one of those ones that you it gives you an extra reaction. But it's one of those ones that is good at the beginning of the game, but you probably don't want to spend the glory on it at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? time you've got round to having the free glory to use it, you haven't got any skinks left.
Yeah, that's true. And next one is Selfless Sacrifice. Reaction, another reaction. During an attack that targets this fighter, after the deal damage step, if this fighter will be taken out of action, you can make an attack with them. That could be very, very useful.
That's pretty nice.
There's not many of those in the game. You don't get many of them to the pound. But it's only a skink.
Yeah.
Can't put it on Clacktrock, so that does reduce its effectiveness.
Inspired or whatever he's called.
Yeah. I noticed that thing's about to get snapped by what looks like a great big crab claw, so maybe that's the fish elves.
No, it's thingy, isn't it? The Slanesh guy whose name completely escapes me.
Oh, might Slake Slash, maybe. Doesn't look Slake Slashy, but it might be. Hello, Maliki. Maliki says hello. Hello, hello.
Maliki!
Next one is Herald of the Old One. This just goes on your leader. If this fights within 3x's of a friendly skink at the start, that is the target of an attack. You can reroll 1 defense dice. I mean, you could. But why would you? I mean, it might not be too bad when you've got 2 dodges or whatever, but only one of them goes up to 2 dodges. The rest are 2 a single shield, so... Laura's off. Sweet dreams, Laura. Good night. Thanks for joining us. Then we've got the Heaven Blessed Weapon.
Yeah.
That's going on Clacktrock.
Crying out to go on the big guy. I mean, you've definitely got options here to beef up the big guy, haven't you? To Voltron the big guy.
Yeah, he could
definitely have those options.
He could definitely get very big. No Beef says that he's got a scoot as well. Baby Juicies. You have our sympathies there. No Beef.
Good luck.
Next one is I'm so glad these days I don't have to do that anymore. I really am. I mean, I've got a puppy and that's enough work, but I'm just so glad I haven't got to deal with babies anymore. What's the next one? It's one for your leader. It's a +2 move, and you can move through occupied and lethal hexes and stuff like the north. I don't really see that.
No, me either.
I've very rarely found myself in a game where I'm sitting thinking, oh crap, if only I could move my opponent through, if only I could move my fighter through that blocked hex or whatever, it would make all the difference.
I have had some use out of the Enchanted Robes for Condemners, which completely ignores lethal hexes.
But that also gives you +1 move, doesn't it?
It's mainly the +1 move, but the lethal hexes thing is quite nice because those guys you definitely want to avoid being pushed into lethal hexes. So it does give them a bit of extra resilience, but that isn't what that says there, is it?
No.
They can be dealt. They can't be dealt damage. Yes. So yeah, but I can't see taking that because it's restricted to the leader. If it was any fighter, then maybe. Then
you put it on Clacktrock, but.
Yeah, well, exactly. But then it's more useful, or even on the Chameleon.
Yeah, it's true.
So, but yeah, well, just on the leader. I'm still not entirely sure what the leader does in this game for them. I think he just stays at the back.
Flip tokens.
Yeah,
could be useful for that, I guess. He also has the Astrolith Igniter. I really wish this was just like if you play this on your leader, then you immediately win the game. During a friendly fight's range 1 or 2 attack, before the attack roll, spend a glory and that attack action gains cleave until it's been resolved. Yeah, it's okay.
If you throw it on the ground, it like captures your opponent's fighter. It becomes yours. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd take that.
No, same here. And then we've got Adaptive Camouflage. -1 dice from attack actions if the attack is not adjacent. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah,
I don't think people are trying to shoot him. I might be wrong. I suppose they might shoot him into try and knock him into a lethal hex, do 1 damage, knock him into a lethal hex, and he's dead.
True.
So,
But I could see one thing being really worthwhile is putting him on guard as soon as you can, because then rolling 2 or 3 dice on guard.
Definitely.
That can make him quite tricky.
He's trying out for survival instincts.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all of the Lizardman specifics, which are there's some really quite interesting cards in there, I think.
I love the card design of all of these. I think not all of them, but most of them. I think they're really good.
They're really starting to open up new areas of possibility and stuff, and even things like the card where it's like, oh, this is effectively a distraction, but you've got this additional option of selecting 3 fighters rather than just the one. But then giving your opponent the choice of where to push them suddenly makes things much more variable. Gives you suddenly a load more options and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So going on to the universals, we've got Void Sphere, which, I mean, I don't know if I'd bother with this one myself. It's a 3 range, 3 sword. Oh, yep, sorry.
The universal
I'm stopping from the very bottom of the list, so that starts obviously at the upgrade. So here we go. So the first universal objective is the Great Hunt. I think they could do well with this one. More surviving friendly fighters than enemy surviving hunters.
They're 3, and there's so many upgrades that make things a hunter. They've got 4, haven't they? Sorry, they've got 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think certainly early in the game, it's
I think
a good card.
Beastmen have 4 hunters. That might be about it. I can't think of any other warband that has loads and loads of hunters.
No, not that many.
I mean, this is another one of those examples of where they're slowly starting to phase out the older warbands because, you know...
Yeah,
it's
more
not
4 plus the upgraded source, exactly. I think that, they've got a good chance of scoring that. I mean, I think the chances of you having 4 left at the beginning of the first round are fairly slim, but it's a good card.
John has pointed out Skaeth. Skaeth has a few hunters, isn't
they? Are they all hunters for Skaeth? I think they might be.
Yeah, they might be. Next one is Swelling Pride. Score immediately if you gain the primacy token, but you already have it.
Well, interesting. That's a Mollog and Morgoth's bread and butter card, isn't it?
Possibly, yeah. But you've also got like the ploys that would give you the card, so you could play the ploy and score this.
That's true. I mean, it's quite it makes feign strength more desirable in hitting warbands because you can nick it and then score it again.
Yeah, give yourself another glory. Then we've got Punctured Pride.
Apparently there's 5 in the Grimwatch.
Sorry?
Apparently there's 5 hunters in the Grimwatch.
Oh, are there? Interesting. Okay. So that's definitely a card for them then, I feel.
Yeah.
Punctured Pride, Surge and a Hybrid. Score immediately after an enemy fighter from the warband whose player has the primacy token is taken out of action, or damage dealt by a lethal hex or warband takes the enemy leader out of action. I mean, it's a reward for killing the enemy leader again, isn't it? And it's not so fond of these.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of those ones where although it is a hybrid, you're very rarely going to score the second part. So it may as well not be a hybrid.
Second part is just deal damage from a warband or a lethal hex that takes them out. So you could just go up and smash them in the face.
Deal damage dealt by a lethal hex or warband. Oh, a warband takes an enemy leader out of action. Yeah, so you might score it, but I don't think because the leaders. I know you do take leaders out of action, but you can't reliably make. If you get that turn 1, that's not happening, is it?
It's effectively a take the leader out of action card.
But I think the first bit, the enemy fighter from a warband whose player has a primacy token. So so if you're playing into many things, you can, especially even if you're playing Morgoths, 2 kills on a Morgoth, and you score this because they're probably going to have the primacy token.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
So
next one is Prized Kill, which is another surge. Score immediately after a friendly hunter's attack takes an enemy leader out of action. Again, it's get points for killing the leader, and generally I don't go for those.
No.
Because if nothing else, if you take too many of them, there's only one leader to kill.
Yes, yeah.
The Marital Mage. He works his magic in the bedroom.
Marital Mage. He's got his magic staff.
Another, and his pixie dust. Surge, score immediately after a friendly wizard's range 1 or 2 attack takes an enemy fighter out of action.
It's pretty niche, but if you're playing Curse Breakers, you like this card.
Yeah, true.
Other than that, I don't think it's much good. Occasionally, Vortimus might have a crack with his staff. But
Fecula rolls 3 hammers and does 2 damage, so she's not far off being quite nasty.
Wouldn't be bad for it.
And possibly the new vampire leader could be quite good.
Yeah.
And the OBR guy we were just talking about with the great big scythe axe thing, he's a caster as well.
Yeah.
So there's a few options. Yeah. Not masses, but a few. Hungry for Power, hybrid. end phase card. One
Might be
more
right.
friend.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Might be all right for Thedra.
Yeah, she hits quite hard, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that bad not wishing them. Hunger for power. One or more friendly wizards each have 2 or more hunger tokens, or one or more surviving friendly wizards each have 2 or more upgrades.
That's an interesting one. I think the hunger tokens aren't really a thing yet. But Elder Fonz is off. Good night.
Thanks for tuning in.
But surviving friendly wizards each have 2 or more upgrades. That must happen all the time. If you're having a wizard build, so I think
it's only 1 or more, isn't it? So you just have to have a friendly wizard with 2 or more upgrades, and that's not particularly hard.
It becomes a thing. It's going to become even easier. I've just realised the martial mage might not actually be that bad for Grashrak either.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know how often I use it though, but in my games. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Next one we've got is Growing Hunger is another hybrid. Each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more hunger counters, or each surviving friendly enemy fighter has 1 or more hunger counters.
That's not a thing at the moment.
No, but it could become that, and
definitely.
Hunger. There's more things doing hunger counters, and the vampires might use these ones. So these could definitely come in useful for the vamps, I think.
Yeah.
Next one, Clean Kill, is a duel. Score an end phase if an enemy fighter with a combined wounds characteristic of 6 or more out of action, and no enemy fighters has 1 or more wound counters. Okay, that's never happening.
I think this is my favourite card of the lot. Not necessarily to have, but the design of it is really interesting. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You'd have to have very, very specific circumstances where you might take it. But actually, killing 2 or 3 people with a combined characteristic of 6 or more is likely to happen eventually. But the tricky bit is not having any other enemy fighters with any more wound counters on.
Does it count people who are dead? Because when they're dead, don't you remove the wound counters?
No, but they're out of action. So wound characteristics.
No, I mean the no enemy fighters has 1 or more wound counters.
Yeah, if they're dead, they don't count.
Yeah, so you just got to make sure you kill people outright before you kill the big guy.
We don't even need to. Yeah, you've got to kill people outright. Even if you can, but if you do go in on the big guy and kill the big guy, then that counts too. If you haven't killed the little guys.
Yeah.
So I think it's quite nice. It's quite easily stoppable. It's good for crushers, yeah. But it's also not bad against crushers. Where if they've put Great Fortitude on them and you manage to kill him, then you've done 6 damage and you haven't touched the other 2, and you score it. So it's a funny one. I think it's an interesting one, but it's easily stoppable because if you know your opponent's playing it, you can just run somebody irrelevant through a lethal hex.
Just run through a lethal hex. Just one of the lowly squigs or whatever else, or one of the things from Hrothgorn's lot. Just run them through lethal and sit them at the back of the board like, haha, fuck you.
But it's an interesting card, and I think as the game develops, we're going to see more cards like this, and some of the more obvious objectives will go out of the game. So you'll be left having to take this sort of card. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's a sort of card. I can't claim credit for this because I read it on Steel City Underworlds, but it's the sort of card that we were complaining didn't exist in Beastgrave. An aggressive, focused objective, decent end phase objective. So I think,
that's true.
It's a good card in that respect.
Real Decos says he's just joined us. He's late to the party. He had to get stomped with Scare first. I mean, you could try not doing that. I don't know what your options are. So, hello, welcome aboard, and thank you for joining us. We're just looking through these cards. The next one we've got is Bristling with Weapons. Score in end phase if 1 or more friendly hunters has 3 or more upgrades, or 1 or more friendly hunters each have 2 or more attack action upgrades. I mean,
it's not likely. The second one's not very likely.
No, the first.
But again, it's another hybrid that actually you would easily work in certain warbands. You could easily work to the first bit, and it would count as a hybrid, so it would count to whatever the. It's not aggressive strategy, but there's a card for scoring hybrids, isn't there? So it would work and it'll work to that new one we were talking about. So it's
yeah.
I think is a Wizard Man one. So
Yeah, it was
but,
to have 6 scored and then have.
And so chances are, indeed, if you're going around with hunter attack options as well, you put one of those on the big guy. You only need 2 more.
Yeah, that's true. The next one we've got is Bold Deeds. It's a duel. You score it if there are 2 or more enemy fighters out of action, and each surviving friendly fighter is in enemy territory. That feels a bit all in for my liking. Although, I mean, it's not that bad for like small model count aggressive warbands. Yeah, Rippers.
Yeah.
I mean, I found even with my Wormspat when I was playing there, most of the time I spent a large portion of my time in my opponent's territory because it doesn't take very much to get over there. If you don't get this,
actually any small number warband because you can work to it more easily.
Yeah, plus it's just surviving friendly fighters. It doesn't have to be minimum of 3. It's just if you've got one guy left and you're just running across the board to clobber your friend, your opponent's face in.
Yeah,
it's not a bad one for 2 glory as well.
Yeah,
I like that. There's already a similar. I think Wormspat have one of that already, which is 2. It might be 3 dead enemy fighters and at least 1 surviving friendly fighter. So that goes quite well with them.
Yeah,
but I'm not playing Wormspat in season 2.
Oh, you decided yet? Who you play?
I'm probably going to go with the Banshees.
Ooh.
But you know what? It plays quite well for the Banshees as well, that card. So
Banshees are good. Banshees are strong.
Yeah. Well, I figured, I was that good with Wormspat. I need to now come crashing down by playing a stronger warband, doing terribly with them. So on to the ploys, and the first one is the Trap is Sprung. Place after you play a Trap Gambit. All right, let's get rid of this card then. Pick one. Choose one friendly fighter adjacent to 1 or more enemy fighters and give the chosen fighter 1 guard token, or choose one friendly fighter that's not within 2 hexes of an enemy fighter and push them up to 2 hexes.
I really want this card to be good. I really like it. I really like the design. It's really fun.
Got a lot of options.
But you've got to have it in your hand when you play another trap. And at least that trap next to it on my picture, Starvation Snare, is crap at the moment.
So Starvation Snare is play after an enemy fighter's move, give that enemy fighter 3 hunger counters or remove up to 3 hunger counters.
Yeah, I mean, when the vampires come out, it might suddenly be great. But so the Slick Rock, obviously, people play a lot. But you've got to have this in your head. If you're only playing, you can't play this card if you're only playing 1 trap.
It's also Hope Sync.
Yeah, people do play Hope Sync, but at the moment, I want it to be good, but I don't think it's ever going to see any play because it's just you've got to have 3 or 4 traps in there, and at the moment they're not good enough to justify being in the deck. So you go, aha, the trap is sprung.
Starvation Snare isn't a bad one. It's not great. Certainly not the best of the traps. There is an objective, I think, which is an enemy fighter has 3 or more hunger counters.
Yeah.
So it'd be handy for that, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So far, I don't remember seeing anything that has a negative for having hunger counters. Like if you have 3 or more hunger counters, you take a wound or something like that.
I feel like there is. It's just the upgrade that I keep using all the time on Draknar.
Oh yeah. Yes. There's the
symbiote.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only small.
Next was Pride for a Fall, which is basically deal 1 damage after making an attack action if the target has the primacy token. Could be useful, especially to counter warbands that are going heavy on the primacy.
Yeah. It's not bad actually.
It's like a Twist the Knife or something like that.
Yeah.
Not quite Twist the Knife, but. Next one is Outrun Death. Choose one fighter. That fighter is a quarry. If that fighter is a quarry, they have +2 move and persist till the end of the round, or it's taken out of action. I mean, it's not too bad. +2 move. It's basically like Spectral Wings, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
I mean, that one, thinking about it, that is fucking god awful if you've got Mollog. I'm going to move for 5 hexes, and then I'm going to move again, or charge, or whatever, for 5 hexes.
Yeah.
You can't even longboard the fucker to keep him away.
One interesting point is choose one fighter. So you could, if you had a card which enabled you to get bonuses against quarries, you could choose an enemy fighter. and then they become a quarry.
Can you do that, though?
It just says choose one fighter. This fighter is a quarry. If the fighter is a quarry, +2 move. So if they'd already moved, or you had something to make them, give them a move counter, or something like that, you could choose them with it, make them a quarry, and then say use Victimize or something.
Yeah. Next one we've got is Lost in Reflection, something that happens to me continuously when I walk through the kitchen and go past the mirror. Choose one enemy fighter from a warband whose player has the primacy token, or pick an opponent. They choose one surviving fighter from their warband. The chosen fighter cannot be activated in the next activation. There was a bit of a, this is a Mollog killer, and this is Time Trap Reborn, and all this kind of stuff, but it's only one activation, so I don't think it's the best thing in the world.
No, it could screw somebody up. Their plans. If you get the timing right, it's a strong card, but I think it's a balanced card. Mark Reynolds has pointed out that Outrun Death is choose one fighter, so you can play it on Skaven.
Yeah.
And they can run like hell, which is pretty good. And they inspire.
Next card, Living Land, is pick one, flip an objective token that has the same number as the round, or move one objective token in your territory 1 hex.
Ed has asked, would it override a hunter upgrade? I'm not sure what you mean, Ed. Quarry and enemy hunkered up.
Because you can be a hunter and a quarry at the same time.
So if that's what you meant. You can be both.
Yeah. There is a thing in here. I'm sure I saw a card that basically said this person is a hunter and they cannot be a quarry.
Okay.
But we'll come to that in a minute. Living Land, I'm not too sure on. I don't know if there's enough objective play in the deck at the minute to make that worthwhile. Delicious Morsel.
You can move an objective in your territory 1 hex. It's pretty good.
Could be handy, I guess. Could be handy, yeah.
3 objectives.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Next one's Delicious Morsel. Choose a fighter, heal 1 that fighter if they have a hunger counter, or heal 2 and remove 2 of the hunger counters.
Yeah.
Or 1 hunger counter if that fighter only has 1. So I don't really get that. Heal them 1.
Yeah.
If they have a hunger counter, you can heal them 2.
Yeah.
And remove 2 of the fighter's hunger counters. Or 1 hunger counter if the fighter only has 1.
Yeah, it's just stopping you from people saying, but you only got 1, so you can't take it off.
Oh, I see, yeah. So it's up to 2 hunger counters. Remove them and get 2
could be really
healed.
good if the hunger mechanic comes in.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guaranteed... With a little bit of decking, a little bit of tech, you can make that almost a guaranteed heal too. That's brutal for people like Mollog and Hrothgorn.
Compelling hunger. Use it to push Hrothgorn up 1 space.
Yeah.
And then give them a hunger. I mean, they have to already have 1 actually. But okay. If you somehow have a way of giving somebody a hunger token, then suddenly you don't actually need it. So ignore that. But yes, if you had a hunger token on you, then Delicious Morsel is 2 wounds back.
Yeah, and there's multiple upgrades and stuff that give you hunger counters and stuff as well. So
the Authari Inspire card, that's a good point, John. Actually, John knows he's done quite an extensive. I haven't actually read it yet. Extensive overview of the hunger mechanic, which I'm guessing is going to grow and grow as we get more and more cards. That is a really inspiring Authari.
Next one's Compelling Hunger, talking about hunger tokens. Choose a fighter with 1 or more hunger counters and push them 1 hex and give them 1 hunger counter. There you
go. Good. If you can figure ways of giving hunger tokens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a few now, I think. So
the Starvation Snare trap, fair enough, having said it was rubbish. I mean, I'm not sure you necessarily want to do this, but you could then, if you gave your enemy, you could then move your enemy 1 hex, but I'm not sure it's worth it. But it's doable because it's choose 1 fighter, so it can be it's like the Earth shakes.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's not choose an enemy fighter; it's just choose a fighter.
Yeah, I mean, for example, there's the Hungry Advance, isn't there? So you could if your opponent played Hungry Advance, and could play themselves a hunger token. You could then play compelling hunger to push them back again.
Yeah.
But it's quite, you might as well use distraction. But in a game where distraction might cease to exist after a while.
I was going to say, in Vanguard meta, there is no distraction, so...
Yeah.
So that's all of them. So again, there's some really interesting ploys in there, and we are coming up to 11 o'clock, so we'll have to quickly look through the objectives.
Did we miss Abersoth Smothering?
Sorry?
I think we missed Abersoth Smothering, which I want to cast, but probably never will.
Oh, did we? Where's that? Where's that one?
It's a gambit. It's a spell. That's probably maybe why you haven't.
Maybe that I didn't show on mine. Yeah, because it's not showing the spells because I haven't got any casters.
That's why you didn't do predatory form either.
Sorry.
That's why you didn't do predatory form either. There's a spell predatory form, but it gives if the fighter is a hunter, it gives them ensnare.
Yeah.
For a round. Not bad, but it's not great either.
There's better out there, isn't there?
Yeah. So should we rattle through these upgrades?
Here we go. So Void Sphere is a bit I mean, it's got the whole discard all persistent gambits, which could be useful.
It's not really that useful yet, though, is it? So I can't see taking that at the moment.
No, I mean it's got a chance to maybe do 2 damage, but that's about it. We did discuss the Ossiarch Bone Reapers mark. We didn't have a lot to talk about though, but we're interested to see where they get to, basically.
Yeah.
Savage Vision. This fight is a hunter. You can reroll 1 attack, range 1 attacks for each fighter upgrade. They have 1 or more instances of the hunter keyword. Just a reroll card. Yeah, it's all right.
Yep.
Proud Runner, +1 move. Every time this fighter finishes 5 or more hexes from where they began, you gain the primacy token. That's quite cool.
This card is huge, I think.
At the end of the action phase of this fight has no move or charge tokens, discard the primacy token. So basically you've got to run with them once you get it, but once you get it, it's Run Forest Gump.
Yeah, I mean it's a good card on for so many Horde warbands who have fast movement.
Yeah, and it's +1 move anyway, so you're even more people have a chance of getting that.
Yeah, you need 4 or more. You need to be able to run in a straight line, pretty much. But
yeah,
it's.
But if your fourth activation is last and your opponent hasn't got any after that, it's a guaranteed way to steal the primacy token back without having to rely on dice at all.
Yeah, and a great way to even in mid game to score, like regaining it off the regaining it off an opponent card or just gaining it full card. It's impossible to stop.
Yeah, which is great as long as you're a faster fighter. But most warbands have got some faster fighters there. So next one's Labyrinth Boots. I don't think we're even going to talk about this one. It just looks crap.
I'm sure there are circumstances where it might be useful, but I haven't thought of one yet.
No, neither have I. And it's got a whole paragraph to describe it.
It's so small on my screen, I can't even read it. But we won't go over it. But it's like you can potentially jump onto an objective somewhere else, but
probably
it's
not.
like a complicated Fameway crystal.
Yeah. Next one's Keen Hunter. This fighter used during attacks. Fuck me, I can't talk. Used during this fight's attack action after the attack roll, remove a hunger counter, and you can reroll a dice. Handy if you're going big on the hunger mechanic, I guess.
Yeah.
Hungering Harpoon, which looks absolutely terrible until you realise you get +2 dice if they have 3 or more hunger tokens, which is still a bit terrible.
It's all going to depend on how these hunger mechanics roll, but even so, it's not great. Well, yeah, it would be quite good then, I suppose. 3 swords, 2 damage. Would be, quite
and
nice.
it's range 3, and it's not a 1 use and discard either.
Yeah.
So
but it's just you do have to buy into that hunger mechanic.
Yeah, 3 swords, 2 damage. That ain't too bad.
Screw that card. Mark Reynolds says, "Well, I don't know which card he was talking about."
I'm assuming he's talking about the one before the one we were just talking about.
The Keen Hunger.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Labyrinth one. That would make more sense.
Could be the Labyrinth one.
Shit.
Next one is Haughty Resistance. During attack action, targets this fighter after the deal damage step. Gain the primacy token. If you have primacy, discard the primacy token and reduce the damage dealt by 1.
Could be really good.
Yeah, I mean, that could be really good for your Hrothgorn and your Mollog warbands as well, because you're going to be getting attacked. So it's a way of reducing the damage. It's a way of getting the primacy token. Yeah, it's a nasty card for them, I think.
John said his favourite combo is Keen Hunger and Feral Symbiote. Yeah, I can see that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Get a token and then reroll. Reroll one attack dice. Pretty good.
And then the next one is Flight Before Food. Remove all hunger counters from this fighter. They become a quarry. If they're a quarry, +1 move, this fight cannot have hunger counters.
Oh.
Not sure why you take that yet. I mean, we haven't really seen very many negatives to having hunger counters yet, so...
Yeah, no. Maybe they will come up in time.
Yeah. This feels like one of those cards where they've tried to put into...
If you've got the Feral Symbiote on them, I suppose. They can. Well, the thing is, you don't need it that much, but you couldn't be any negatives from having that on. But,
True.
But you don't.
I wonder if this is one of those cards they've created to try and deliberately go against what the obvious sort of new thing is to try and create that counter meta, but whether it will actually find any use or not.
It messes up vampires.
Yeah, could do.
But you can't play it on a vampire, unless it's your own vampire.
Yeah.
If it messes them up, you wouldn't want to.
Eagle Eye. That doesn't look like an eagle. That looks like an owl.
Yeah.
That should be Owl Eye. They become
reroll 1 attack dice. Yeah, and that's good for. There's plenty of range 3.
Yeah.
Is it Archer's Focus?
Yeah, it is kind of a bit, I think. But do you care that much on range 3 plus attack?
And it makes you a hunter, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, true.
It's a card that we're all going to snigger over.
Yeah.
Colossal Fist.
Well, there's the Trappist Sprung, but we already talked about that one, haven't we? Oh no. Why have I not got the Colossal Fist?
I don't know.
How weird.
You haven't got Colossal Fist?
I haven't.
Okay. Just Google it.
Give me a second. I'll just look at that other thing you were mentioning. So I was thinking about a blue waffle. I don't know. Let me look it up. I don't know why that's not showing up. That's very weird.
Fighter is a hunter. Oh, yeah. Ed says it's good for the chameleon eagle eye. It is indeed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anything to get those rerolls.
Colossal Fist. It's good for no one.
For some reason, if I search for Fist, I get Rebound. I don't know why Colossal Fist isn't showing. Maybe there's a bug and they haven't got populated on the website. There we go. Can't find it.
It's got a little symbol on it. That's because it's a spell. It's a spell. That's why.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's
so that's
all
it.
the cards.
It's the least informative rundown of the cards anybody's done, but hopefully you enjoyed it.
I'm sure everyone loved it.
Because it only works with Eagle Eye. Yes, Eagle Eye doesn't work with wizards because it says attack die.
Yeah. And spell die. Timothy Greaves is off. Good night, Tim. Good night. We shall be off very shortly too. I think it is time.
Yeah. So no, it doesn't work with spell die, Eagle Eye.
No.
But it would work with the chameleon.
Yeah.
But not Stormsire.
If it just said reroll 1 dice in the attack roll, then it would work. But because it says attack dice, it specifically does not work.
Interesting because they deliberately avoided using that terminology after the snafu with that terminology in the night when Nightmare first came out.
Yeah.
And then now they've obviously gone back and decided actually it's quite a good distinction to have.
Yeah, it does seem to be.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody found that interesting. Obviously, you've got our usual flippant and uninvestigative take on all the cards, and hopefully some entertainment in there. I'm looking forward to the Bone Reapers, I've got to say, and I am looking forward to trying these lizards out this week. I'm finding I'm getting a bit more of my mojo back with the game.
We did have a comment from Rivel about the Bone Reapers. He said he went back and wanted to point out that on a Photoshop version of Kainan, we can see that he can spend 2 tithe counters to gain a modifier. But we can't see which modifiers though. I don't know what that is, but that's just worth pointing out that he can spend his tithe counters.
Interesting.
How many do they need? They needed 3 to inspire, do they?
3, yes. So I wonder if there'll be it'll be a bit like Morgok, where you've got to have that payoff between using your counters and
Possibly so.
John Grant's asked, do the wizards lose an attack dice with formidable defense? Not on their spell attacks, I don't think. I'd need to look at it.
I can't remember the wording for formidable defense.
Let me have a look.
He'll ask more about this later.
Formidable defense. This fire is a quarry. Plus on defense, -1 dice from this fight's attack actions. Yes, he does.
He does lose. He does lose.
It's attack actions, not attack dice.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
There
does.
you go. You've heard it from the horse's mouth.
Yay.
I'd still put that on Fecular any day of the week because she goes up to 2 defense and she still rolls 2 hammers, 2 damage when she's inspired.
Oh.
Makes her quite solid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope everyone enjoyed watching us tonight. Obviously it was a bit unprepared and a bit random, but that's just how we do.
That's how we go.
Next week we shall be streaming the final of our TTS AOS Season 1. Sorry?
We've got a guest, haven't we? We've got to have Set the Tempo. Matt is going to come and commentate with me because my usual commentator is rudely in the final. But obviously we'll be hoping that Pete wins and doesn't get thrashed by John.
I can see a hearty thrashing coming along. Hrothgorn still scares me. Still scares me.
It's it's going to be an interesting matchup anyway. I mean, you've both obviously got good experience with your decks now, so be looking forward to seeing it. Looking forward to seeing the game. Looking forward to commentating. It will be a best of 3. Hopefully, it'll only go to 2.
I'll do my best.
It will be a best of 3, and obviously don't mean that. Obviously, a exciting 4th activation in the third round of the 3rd game, winning narrow win was what we're looking for.
Turning into a complete stalemate draw.
But looks like do join us next week for that. It's going to be a TTS spectacular. And
as mentioned, anybody who hasn't yet, who's interested in joining in Season 2, isn't a Patreon member, do check out Patreon. Even at the lowest £2 level, you'll be able to join in and jump in. We've started registration now. We're up to 25 people already. So anybody who's watching who is a Patreon member and hasn't joined yet and is interested, do it. It's great fun.
It's good way to make lots of great players and me and Pete.
Yeah. So, there's some wins, some losses. Got to take your wins, got to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wolfram Guest says he doesn't know what's happened to my dice. I don't know what's happened to my dice either. I think I've just lucked out and picked a warband that is just good in the Vanguard meta.
I think I'm just a bit harsh to suggest that I've nobbled them. John keeps putting this rumour around. I haven't. I don't do that. I don't give Pete the 6 sided fort dice.
The voodoos. So thank you all for tuning in. Do stay safe out there. I mean, with every passing week, we're that little bit closer, Robin, to being able to hold each other one more time.
It's like 2 months, is it?
Is it 2 months? Is it sometime in May?
21st of May or something, isn't it?
Oh, Christ, yeah. It is still 2 months. But you know what? We're already in March, near the end of March, and I don't know where that's gone. So
it will soon be here.
Exactly.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks all. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.